Good afternoon to everyone. World Food Day is one of the most celebrated days of the UN calendar, and this year is especially significant because it marks the 75th anniversary of the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. The theme for this year is Grow, Nourish, Sustain Together. We at JC feel that it is extremely important to do something, however small it may be, to support our food heroes, who are the numerous farmers and workers in the food system, who work tirelessly to ensure that food reaches our tables even during these difficult times. One of the goals of the FAO is delivering affordable and sustainable healthy diets for all. There is an imbalance that exists in the food system with hunger, loss, and wastage of food, obesity, lack of food security, etc., being problems that a majority of people face on a regular basis. Based on all these topics, we have created an all-women panel that will address the importance of healthy and sustainable eating. As JC is also dedicating the month of October to health and good living, we believe it is important to have such a discussion at this time. Before we start, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our six very distinguished and eminent panelists who represent the various sides of the food industry. Our first panelist, Ameeta Agnihotri, is a woman of substance. Some call her Diva Shakespeare, some call her down to earth. She's a dynamic food critic who has traveled far and wide and explored food culture across the globe. This author of over 10 books spots trends and likes to be constantly up to date. She's knowledgeable, fun, gregarious, gracious, and knows her food. Our next panelist, Pauline Simon, is currently pursuing her doctoral program in plant science. Pauline has always found a close connection with plants for a major part of her life, and has always found plants to be a very simple yet a very complex form of life. She strongly believes that nature has its own pace and pattern, and each one of us should find our groove within to learn to live healthily and harmoniously. Her current research is on quantitatively estimating the past land cover using pollen grains as a marker. Next, we have Priya Thirumurthi, who is an organic farmer running Alankar Organic Farm in Pollachi, Coimbatore. She also runs a vegetarian restaurant called Shri Vidya Meals Room in Coimbatore that incorporates a farm-to-table concept. She is passionate about farming and cooking and is keen on training and spreading knowledge about both these areas. She is a naturalist too and looks to incorporate healthy and innovative ways of eating habits in day-to-day life. Next on the panel is Nandheetha Varadaraj. Nandheetha is a pastry chef and chocolatier by trade and is currently an educator at the prestigious Lavon Academy of Baking Science and Pastry Arts. Her journey from learning to creating pastries and desserts has taken her across various cities in India and a few years in Canada as well, but Coimbatore has always been her home. Food and culture are so much part of who we are, and that is what she loves about her profession. She is currently teaching various forms of pastries from cookies, cakes, chocolates, confections, and breads to students of various ages and backgrounds. She believes that it is very rewarding to be able to connect with so many different people who are equally passionate about this field and to inspire others along the journey. We also have Vaishnevy Reddy in our panel. Vaishnevy has a rich experience in leading MNCs inside and outside of India for more than 16 years in the sales and business development background. She is very affluent in international work and cultural exposure. She is a passionate speaker, generous writer, and an avid reader. Post quitting the corporate side, she is now an entrepreneur for the last 5 years and parallelly an internationally certified life coach for over 3 years and also an internationally certified executive coach. Passionate about coaching and mentoring young people and adults alike, she specializes in mindfulness, empowerment, fulfillment, and goal setting. She works with a couple of international platforms as a life coach and mentor. Our sixth panelist is Virginie Bompoil. Virginie came to India with her husband in 2008, and after falling in love with Indian culture, the colors, and the people, they decided to leave France in 2013 and settle down in India. She was working for 12 years in shipping and left it to learn Ayurvedic massages and Ayurvedic cooking in an Indian setup in France. In 2018, she created a company with her husband called Vision Partage Consulting Private Limited. Their company offers consultancy services, coaching and training, particularly in French cuisine to cafes, restaurants and individual people. She has a passion for cooking and for spices as well and provides training in Ayurvedic cooking in order to help expats discover Indian spices and how to use them. This discussion will be moderated by JC's senior mentor Merlin Simon, who is someone having experience in a variety of fields. She's an educator, linguist, entrepreneur, physiotherapist, project manager, cross-cultural communication trainer, customer engagement and startup specialist with over 20 years of experience in industrial and non-profit sectors. We would like to extend a warm welcome to all our panelists and thank you so much for taking time out to be a part of this discussion. I now hand over the session to Merlin.
Thank you, Shruti. And yes, a warm welcome to all the panelists. It's really a pleasure to have all of you here, and it's going to be a power packed, all women conversation. You all are experts in your fields, and it's really a blessing to have all of you together in this forum. And I'm sure it is going to help our audience because food is something that is very vital for life. In fact, food is life. So, all the experts here who are related to food in one way or the other, together sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience is indeed a delight. So, I would like to start off this conversation with Ameeta. So, Ameeta, since you are on the field, and you are interacting with the customers, but also with the producers or with all different aspects. So, we'll start with you. And what do you think are today's most popular food fads? That's very in, that's very trendy now these days.
Um, I wouldn't call it a fad, actually. I would rather say that we are going back to our roots in India. We are going back to our regional cuisines. And we are, in a way, looking more inwards than wanting to bring foods from outside. So, having said that, I've started writing a blog about chefs and their own creations, where they're not stuck to any particular regional cuisine or any particular recipe, where they create their own recipes which come to them either by accident or because of a need. So I find that while I'm restricting my blog to one recipe or something, chefs have actually created so many recipes that are entirely their own. So maybe I could call it a collaborative cuisine, like one of the chefs told me, or something that's their own, And at the same time, I feel, okay, there is a school of thought that believes that a traditional cuisine has to be a particular way. But I don't believe with that, because I think in every household, every family has a tradition that is their food, So you cannot club it all as, oh, this is the right recipe and your recipe is the wrong recipe and things like that. According to trends, I feel now, because of the pandemic and all that, going out has reduced tremendously, which is what a lot of restaurants tell me. But the takeaway and delivery is taking off. Like, while they are losing the walk-in customers, the food is not really losing its reach. And another trend I find that's again taken off during this pandemic is a whole lot of home chefs have come to the foreground, So a lot of people are looking at tasting food that's made in other people's homes. So that is another trend that has taken off. And some restaurateurs tell me that, earlier people used to love eating non-veg, but now they are finding they are in their heads, although veg or non-veg is really not, it doesn't matter, but people are kind of turning vegetarian, because they feel that vegetarian food is probably healthier than non-vegetarian food. So one is takeaway, one is delivery, one is home chefs, one is do-it-yourself kits. So again, do-it-yourself kits are, they never used to be there earlier, but now do-it-yourself kits are catching on because families and mothers or cooks want to feel that they have actually heated the food in their own vessels. So whatever bacteria and whatever else may be there, it's all gone because they have done it by themselves at home. Only the ingredients and sauces have come from somewhere else. So these are the things I've noticed.
Thank you, Ameeta. That's interesting to know. So we're talking about a lot of technology here also on food and what is important, and it's interesting to know that these are the food fads that have arisen that is during this pandemic. So thank you, and the
I'd
next
like to
thing I would
add
like,
one more thing.
huh?
Another thing I want to add is, like, people are looking at organic food. They are looking at sustainable ways of delivery. And, as far as possible, they are looking at their ingredients coming straight from the farm to the home. We have a lot of suppliers who are supplying in our own complex. We have people bringing in vegetables and fruits from different parts of South India. Polachi is one place, then Uti is another place, and Lakshmi, I'm sure you must be sending a lot of stuff to Chennai.
Well, I think I prefer to sell them locally because of logistics problems. And so in and around 40 kilometers, I try to sell the produce
Okay.
rather than sending it much. Yes.
Yeah, that's another thing, because logistics and then the rains from when
Yes.
vegetables come in from Uti, and all the rains play havoc in our supply. So yeah,
Okay,
I could go
awesome.
on about food, so you just have to cut me short. Pauline.
No problem. And yeah, Pauline, we were talking about farm produce, we were talking about, do it yourself cuisine, and, people trying to eat healthy. What is your, take on the indigenous food or cuisine, and how important is it, to consume locally? What is the algorithm in this scenario?
Yeah, okay. So basically, indigenous food, indigenous cuisine it just means the produce that we get locally, the plants or the vegetables that are native to a particular region. It could be a particular state, it could be a country, it could be something like that. So if we think of the Indian subcontinent as such, so there are like so many types of rice that we have, pulses, millets, spices that we can find, and there are so many plants that are indigenous to the Indian subcontinent. That is, they are locally cultivated, they can be easily cultivated here, and they are native to this particular region. And why I think it's important is, I think that is what that has built the core in us. The essence. I think so, and I think as I always believe, nature has its own pattern. Like it knows what it's doing. So the plants that are grown here is meant for people who are here, for the weather that is set up here. So I think it is very important, to always go to the roots to see what is grown locally, and to cook the food that way. For instance, if you think in the ancient times and all, they used to have like a really very detailed menu for every single meal. So that had a little bit of everything that we need, starting from the carbohydrates, proteins, nutrients, macronutrients, micronutrients. There's everything in it. And so I think we should go back to that kind of a lifestyle.
Perfect. Thank you, Pauline. So Priya might be able to, elaborate more on, the ancient Vedic period eating, which also people now, which is also in now, like Ameeta said, we talk about the circadian rhythm, and, it's technically the traditional way in which the Indians ate. So Priya, can you just talk about that, please?
Yeah, first I would like to congratulate Merlin and her team for this brilliant initiative, JC Skill Academy. And knowing Merlin as a very, I'm still scared of her regarding as a tutor to me. So I learned French, so from her. Well, congratulations, Merlin, and all my best wishes for a brilliant to your team and to you.
Thank you.
Well, namaste, good evening, everybody. So, well, yes, I think food, your life, your circadian rhythm, your health, everything is completely a link. It starts from the soil health, then to your gut completely. So I could later explain about the organic thing later. Now, since Merlin has asked me about ancient food, well, yes, about say the Vedic kind of eating or the earlier kind of eating, the circadian rhythm is a sort of, it's a very sort of a technical or a scientific name, but it's a basic process which regulates your sleep to wake cycle in the 24 hours rhythm. Like as long as the earth moves 24 hours and the sun sets in the west and rises in the east. So if that is the basic thing which is disturbed, I think whether it is Vedic eating, whether whatever custom we do of eating, it's completely damages your psychological, your neuro, your basic, everything goes for a complete imbalance. For instance, we are the only living beings thing which we have night shifts, we have sleepovers, we have late night parties, everything. So in Vedic or earlier stages, we didn't have so-called depression or say kids insomnia, kids counselors, or whatever, because we slept on time, we ate on time, and we woke up on time. So that is the principle, I think, what I follow, even for my granddaughter who's here. She was born in the US and she's here with me. But I think from the childhood, rather to say we take care of them till they're about 10, 11, we make them sleep early. And then as parents, we start sleeping late and then involve them into all that. So I think that's the first principle of eating. That's like, first follow your rhythm, don't go against nature. Whether, as Ameeta said, every custom has got different kind of food, which we have to respect. Every family's food is important. So I think first we have to not go against nature. And the second thing is, I think, as Pauline said, eat local, but eat seasonal. That's in Vedic thing, eat seasonal. For instance, mangoes are supposed to be done in, say, April, May, which we can't eat in December, even though they preserve it and then again we have it. Apples from Shimla or from Washington can't be had in Coimbatore, or kiwis from whatever. So I think eating local and eating seasonal is much more important. And I think that's the reason where immunity develops. Everything is based on immunity levels. And I think it starts from that. And the third thing is, yeah, so they, it's like soil health. Any plant which your body is in soil, I incorporate both. Like it's the same thing, because soil is alive. It's got so much of fauna, flora, microorganisms, everything. So simultaneously, our gut has got so much inside to do that. So I think firstly, eat pollen, and what Ameeta said, do that. And then I think don't get distracted from young when you're eating. That's it. And especially even mothers, I think for children, for them to be convenient, they put the iPad in front of a 1-year-old kid to make them eat. So the child doesn't know what they're enjoying, what they're chewing. So simultaneously, you too, don't eat on a distracted mode. That's one of the major principles of Vedic eating. Enjoy, even if you're eating a simple rasam sadam, put it in your mouth, chew it, allow your enzymes in the mouth to go. So then it goes inside. So your digestive systems completely take control of yourselves. No woos of crying inside. I think if our systems have voices to speak, the amount we abuse them, they will literally be depressed. They have to have a psychological problems, because the amount we abuse our systems. So I think giving respect to each and every system of our body is the major principle of eating. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful, beautifully said. So Vaishnavi would be able to add on that, because she will talk about the emotional quotient and how do we maintain a healthy relationship with food if food was a person. Yes, Vaishnavi.
Yes. I'm just going to take on from where Priya left, because she started off with exactly what I wanted to say. I don't think any of us sit to eat in the table these days with the family. It makes a lot of difference when you sit with family and without any of the gadgets around. Nowadays, I see everyone with a plate and next to it a gadget, be it an iPad. And I'm not talking about children, I'm talking about adults as well, right? Some of them on Zoom calls and then eating, work from home. So what happens is, I'm not even going to go into the deeper aspect of it. Like she said, you don't know what goes into your mouth, why it goes into your mouth, and what happens inside your body. And half the time, very practically, you don't know what is on the table. Like Pauline was saying beautifully, some families still have these 8-course meals for a reason. You have, in South India, you have sambar and then rasam and then curd rice. That is the order. But today you see people in their hurry just skip a part of it and eat. And after 1 hour, they say you have a stomach upset. That's because you haven't followed the order. If you're going to be mindful of what you eat, just spend some time when you eat, when you sit on the table, take some time to see what goes into your plate, what is there. Instead of the opposite way of doing it is just multitasking. Your mind is somewhere, your left hand is on the phone, and then your right hand is doing the eating. You don't know what you're doing and what is the signal you give to your brain. And what happens, you end up eating a lot or you end up eating less. You end up not eating everything on the table. And towards the end of the meal, when you see you don't feel full, though your stomach is full, emotionally you don't feel full because you've still missed out on the dessert. You've still missed out on the starters that you didn't take, And I think Priya said it beautifully, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. But what I would want to stress upon is emotional eating. I think all of us at some point, whether we are stressed, whether we are angry, whether we are upset, be it children, be it adults, we all just give into that comfort food. And what happens, even if it's a coffee, you have some kind of a stress and then immediately you reach out for a coffee. What happens is that 10 minutes give you that hike, that energy. And after 10 minutes, you see what happens to your rhythm. You feel much weaker than what you felt earlier. It's just a boost. It's all in your mind. Instead, reach out for something healthy. You want to go for something healthy, have a very calming tea. Don't go for addictive foods like, coffee or some carbs. People crave carbs. For example, women, when we are upset, it's a widely known fact, no offense here, but we all reach out to sweets during certain days of the month, or when we are angry, we all think, okay, a donut is good. A jalebi is good. But what happens is you spoil the rhythm of your body. Take, for example, during your menstrual cycle, you're not supposed to have excessive sweets. You're not supposed to have excessive oil. But what happens, you end up only having them mindlessly, not knowing when to stop and whether it's a craving or a real hunger. The difference is knowing which is craving, emotional craving, and which is actual physical hunger. And when you do this, you spoil it further, you get tired, you get weak, and it's all in your mind. You get very, very tired mentally also. So the point is, the difference between emotional eating and the emotional and the physical hunger, the difference, what actually it is. A sudden surge of a craving is actually related to your emotions or your stress or anger, whereas physical hunger, you will feel it and you can wait for some time. If you're going to feel hungry, you will give in at least an hour, even an hour, to wait for proper food. But if it's going to be emotional, you will immediately grab something and eat. So today's all these obese problems, or be it even depression, like Priya said, depression, anxiety, half of it is related to the food you eat. Some of us don't know what food suits us, what doesn't suit us. Not everything suits us. So you'll have to be very mindful of what suits us and how we feel about it. When you're going to have a food, you just need to think, am I focusing on the food first? And then know what, where, why, when, and how to eat it. That's in one form. It's called mindful eating. And after you eat it, see for yourself how you feel about it. Some of us would end up sick. Some of us would feel very happy. That's the right food for you. Not everything suits. And like Lakshmi and even Pauline was saying, indigenous food. That's also, being mindful of what you choose, what goes where they are from, and, reading the label of a product or a food label. Everything is important when because you have to focus on everything, right from your procurement to your cooking to the table, and when it goes inside your system, that's when it's a very positive energy that goes into you. If you're going to eat mindlessly, like Priya said, system is very, very sensitive. You can't just shovel in everything inside. It doesn't work like that, right? So be mindful of what you eat, and the difference is to know between emotional craving or a physical hunger. And often people ask me, is it okay to eat many meals a day? It is completely fine as far as you know when to stop your meal. You know, if it's an emotional craving, what you would do is you would want to finish the entire bowl of popcorn, entire bowl of chips. If it's going to be only a physical hunger, you will know when your stomach is full. And some of us have 2-3 meals a day. Some of them have 4 meals a day, probably medical condition. All is fine as far as you know what goes into your system and is it the right amount, right food. So, and then focus. Just be mindful of what you eat and how you eat, where, when, and why. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. And
thank you,
Nandheetha,
Merlin, for this opportunity.
Thank you. And Nandheetha, how did you fall in love with food? Because you're talking about emotions, and I think emotions are not only there when we eat, but it's also when we cook. And I'm sure you are. How did you find this passion, and how did you get into this this field? So you can start off with that, and then you can talk about people who have started baking now recently. You know, there are a lot of home bakers who have come up, and there is I don't know if it's a myth or not that you'll have to clear, that we say that when it's baked at home it's better, but when it's baked in a restaurant it's bad for health. So you just share 2 points together, would you? Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I basically started I've always been in the kitchen. I can't even think about when I started and when I stopped or anything like that. Always been in the kitchen, always helping around with mom and doing things and all that. So actually never thought about it as a career choice at all, ever. And I was very seriously considering doing architecture when I had to graduate from school. And so I even did PCM, computer science and everything, and I was very good at that also. And then slowly I think I started realizing that I need to be happy doing whatever I'm doing, even 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now. I need to be happy. And I, like you said also, right, Vaishnevy is talking about being mindful, not only with, again, what we eat, it's even how we approach the food and everything. So I kind of decided that, I try to look back and think, what have I always been doing ever since I was a kid? And of course, being in the kitchen was one of them. And so then I went into culinary school. And actually, before I started, before I started at the school, my parents were like, are you serious about this kind of profession? Because it takes a lot of hard work, right? You have to put in a lot of time, and you have to put in a lot of hours, and you're creating all these things for other people, right? Most of the time it's not even for yourself, it's just for creating joy with other people. So they're like, are you sure this is something you want to be doing? So I actually did a 1-month training at the Taj in Coimbatore, just to sort of get immersed in a professional kitchen, with the hustle bustle and with the speed of everything. But it was amazing. Like, I think they really thought I wouldn't like it, but I loved it. And so I think that it just really started from there. And of course, went to culinary school, and then I decided I really liked pastries. Pastry was something which kind of fell into my lap. I really love science, and I really love numbers and math. And in pastry, it's much more exact, right? You have to weigh out the recipe, or it has to have certain amount of sugar, certain amount of butter, certain amount of flour. Otherwise, it becomes a mess and it becomes a disaster. So I loved all that, the nitty-gritty and being able to control all the variables. And so pastry happened. And then slowly chocolate happened, which is ironic because I never ate chocolate as a kid. I still, to this day, cannot eat chocolate ice cream. I cannot have a chocolate milkshake. I can't eat chocolate cake like too much. Like, I can have one bite and that's about it. But like, chocolate is like my forte right now, like working with it again from a very scientific aspect based on flavors and pairing it with other ingredients and so on. I'm actually taking on a project in a couple of months. I'm working with chocolate brand from Pollachi. It's called Chocolate, Regal Chocolates. So I'm going to be working with them, and I'm very excited because again, it's local, right? It's from Coimbatore, it's from Pollachi, and like I love the way that the cocoa bean tastes, and you can sense the difference between something that's grown, I mean, that's, you know, manufactured in Europe versus that's homegrown, home processed, and you know, it's all full of flavor. And I love that. So I'm very, very excited about what's coming next. Also, to add on to whatever you were asking also, right, about people who are home baking right now. I think what's happening right now also in tandem with whatever's happening in the company where I'm working at. So basically we run a diploma program, we run a certification program that's normally for 6 months, and we take in batches of people, and you know, we train them for that entire 6 months, and then we're pushing out you know, budding pastry chefs all the time. But because of this whole pandemic, we couldn't conduct classes for them. We sent them all home, and I was actually in Coimbatore for a couple of months because we weren't doing anything. And then we decided, you know what, we'll teach online. Just because we can't teach our students in class doesn't mean, you know, we can't touch other people's lives across the screen. And I can't tell you how tremendous the response has been. It's been massive. We do a class every day, and there are on average at least 100 people in every class. That's how much people want to learn. That's how much people are very, very interested. They are so exposed now. The social media, they watch television. Even there are so many more TV shows and movies which are talking about food. There are more food-centric episodes, or so on and so on. And chefs are coming more and more into the forefront, right? Normally they're at the back of the house, they're slogging. Yes. But now we talk about chefs, and like even Ameeta was talking about how, you know, she's featuring chefs in her blog, which is amazing, which is only happening in the last couple of years. So people are just becoming more and more aware. And once they figure out that awareness, they figure out that, okay, I can make this at home, right? I can make it at home. And so then they start doing that. They try out one recipe, then they try out 2 recipes, and they figure out that, okay, I'm good at this, I can do this. And I think that's what ends up happening. And then they start, you know, of course, offering it to friends and offering it to family, and everyone gives them that good feedback. And at the end of the day, that's all you're looking for, right? You're looking for somebody else to be super, super happy with whatever you're giving them. Again, most of the time, never making it for yourself. You know, you're just looking, again, to just spread that joy and to spread all of the things that you've learned, you know, all of the memories, the inspiration, just to, again, just spread joy. And I think that's why there's a lot of home bakers right now, even, right, during the COVID time. I think that was the one thing that really brought out, you know, some sort of motivation from their side. You know, they could at least do something at home, because none of us could step out, none of us could really go do anything. The maximum thing I think we all did was go to the supermarket and, you know, pick up groceries. And then that's the other thing, right? We kind of only did that. Even at my own, like when we were in Coimbatore, we cooked every day, every single meal, which we never did before. We would at least cook one bulk meal or something and, you know, do leftovers. But no, every single meal we cooked. I think I made a pastry like every other day. My mom was learning something new from me. My dad was learning something new from me. And I think a lot of other people have had similar experiences, right? Where they pay more and more attention to what they're eating, at least incorporating more vegetables, incorporating stuff which was farm grown. This was the one thing I loved about what happened in with the Coimbatore Corporation, was that the corporation organized like trucks, and they would go pick up vegetables from a local farm, and they would just drive around different sections of town selling them. So like actually for a couple of months, we never went out. We just bought the vegetables directly from the farmers. And it was amazing. The produce was so much more fresh, actually so much more clean, free from pests also. And it was a revelation for me. I've actually, now that I've come back to Bangalore, I'm cooking a lot more at home, only because of the experience that I had at home. And again, this is just, I feel, what everybody else is also going through. And hence the home baking surge. A lot of people, my own students are all baking at home right now. Each one of them. So I have currently 80 students, and nearly 60 of them are having a home baking business right now.
Business, awesome.
Yeah, it's just, it's amazing what people are ready to do. They're ready to put in the time, ready to put in the effort, you know, buy equipment, buy tools, basics. They don't have to, you know, spend too much on doing such things, but, and people are ready to buy it also. That's the other thing. Like, they get massive response from customers, and it's amazing. Like, I'm seeing pictures from all of them, and I think there's a long way to go. But they're having a good time, and that's what's important at the end of the day.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Nandheetha. And seeing Virginie smiling all the way right from the moment you said, we cook for the others and we don't even eat it, and she is like nodding. Yeah, Virginie. How do you enjoy cooking? It's for you, it's a challenge because we're all talking about homegrown and indigenous, but you are doing French cuisine here. So how do you manage? What is your challenge, and how do you manage? How do you make it? Because I know you have you know that your food has a lot of soul in it. So how do you make that balance, Virginie?
So I will answer you in a minute. I just carry on with what Vaishnevy said, because in Ayurveda, the important thing as well to know is to eat when you're hungry. And the people forgot that. They eat because it's time to eat. But if your stomach feels full already, then don't eat. It's okay. And to know yourself, in Ayurveda, you have the dosha, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. If you see which one you are, then you will understand yourself better and you will know which food corresponds more to you. So coming back to French cuisine, so I'm doing that in my kitchen because the French actually asked me, they were fed up to cook, and they said, why don't you start and we come with our Tupperware? So I'm cooking French food, which I love. I put all my love into that and I just send home to them. And it's working quite well. They are very happy. And so this, because before I was doing consulting for Amethyst and Chamiers, and it has not started yet. So you have to think differently. And this opportunity happened. So I said, okay, I have to adjust. Okay, and it's quite nice. First, I'm home. It's always nice to cook from home. And I am like Nandheetha. I'm not a cake person. I bake cake, but I don't eat them that much. I'm more salty than sweet, but I love making cakes.
Nice.
So it's a very strange thing, but I feel the same as you do. And so it's a whole new experience, but it's a nice experience. It's like you putting all your love into food and you give them, and when they come back and they say, oh, thank you, it was so good, your heart is full.
Yeah. And how do you do for the ingredients? Are you able to replace your ingredients with something local?
Yes, I left the zucchini and I'm using the loki.
Okay.
I don't know, you said in Tamil, the loki?
No.
It's a green long vegetables.
What is it, Podalanga?
I
think she means like a gourd, right?
Yeah, bottle gourd. Yes, that's a bottle gourd. Thank you. So because at the beginning I couldn't find zucchini, so I said, okay, then I use bottle gourd, and it's even better. And I've got this tremendous chance of having people coming on my street selling nice fresh vegetable and fresh fruit. So I get nearly everything that I need from them. And I actually prefer to buy directly from them than to go to the supermarket. It's like I'm supporting them because I spoke with them and 3 o'clock in the morning, they go to the market and bring, and it's a hard life. So I try to support them as much as I can. And it's good for them, and it's good for me.
That's awesome. That's very sweet. And on a lighter note, I'm glad Nandheetha and Virginie, you don't eat chocolates and cakes. Otherwise, you would eat it when you're making it, and then what would we do? So it's good. I think God creates people that way. And that's what I've heard a lot of people, and even Priya, she eats so little, and luckily we have otherwise you would eat everything as you're cooking. Imagine you love chocolates, you would make and then you'd just eat. So that's on a lighter note. I will just ask about go on to Ameeta. Ameeta, what is your opinion on you know, on food, on eating healthy food, and you know, on nutritional value and things like that? What is your take on that?
I think it's very important.
Promote health.
I think it's very, very important because, like everybody else said, you know, we have to bond with the food as it goes down our gullet into our stomach, chew it well, and identify with the food instead of, you know, gazing through our phones as we eat or doing Zoom calls or whatever it is. So I'm totally with everybody there. I don't even have one thing to say against what they've said, because food is sustenance, food is life, and we have to treat it with respect, eat mindfully, eat healthy as much as we can, and try and support our farmers. You know, we have to go local, like Prime Minister Modi says, go vocal for local. Even before that came up, I would tell all the restaurants that I go and try food at that, you know, as far as possible, please try and source locally instead of bringing in the steak or the meat from the lamb from New Zealand or Australia or wherever it is, you know, because you get the best meat you want locally, you know. So yeah,
understood.
that's
Super.
my take
Thank you.
on it.
Thank you.
And the one that Virgie was saying about that butter, it's actually lauki, which is not podlankai, sorakai.
Sorakai. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a nice addition. Thank you so much. And Priya, so we are talking about health and, you know, all of that organic farming. Can you talk about your, you know, organic farming journey? And also give some advices on, you know, what are the things that, you know, if we are living, you know, all of us, I don't know how many of us, but all of us do not live in the, except you, I think none of us live in the farm. So, you know, if we have to, you know, grow some vegetables with the little space that we have, you know, if you can share, you know, some words of wisdom which we can use from, you know, from your expertise on what are the things that we can do with whatever little place. It can be either pots, you know, now there are a lot of people coming up with this terrace gardens and all of that. Yeah, so just a small bit on that. Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure. I think the best ever thing that happened to me is to become an organic farmer. I was rather to say get into farming, which I started in 2003. So it's now been 17 years since I'm into farming. I just got this, by God's grace and gratitude towards my parents, I got this piece of land, which I inherited, which it was completely a chemical farm in Pollachi. And they were cultivating, because I did not know anything into farming, though I'm from a agricultural background. My paternal grandmother was a great farmer. But since I got married when I was 16, I didn't have a chance to learn anything, rather to say. As I was just going through the thing, and there was this pregnant woman, and they were spraying pesticides on pandalkai, on bitter gourd. This woman fainted, and she was about 6 months pregnant, and she got aborted, and the baby, I think she had inhaled the toxicity of being as a laborer. This really put me into sort of a very disturbing mindset. Everybody now produces agricultural produce, and then traders buy it, and it's only on money making, not for the farmer. I think it's a very sad situation in farming. So when I sat down and I thought about what is the basics about what you're doing or something. So anything what is put on the plant on chemical is toxic. As well as into organic farming, I can eat any fertilizer or any pesticide which I put on the plant. I can eat. So that was the thing. And so much of disturbances about infertility, this, that, the pregnant woman got thing. So it completely disturbed me, which completely turned me into farming. And it has been a lovely journey. And I train people, welcome them to my farm. And I really wish that this farming thought is put as a seed in schools. in schools. Unless then, I think children will not know how a rice is cultivated. There should be farm excursions. There should be everything in that way. Well, even if Nandheetha comes to Pollachi, well, I know the owners of, I mean, the producers of chocolate. Please, you're welcome to the farm. All of you, all brothers and sisters. And yes,
Thank
and so this was a journey, and then it is a very it was not an easy journey for me. It was not accepted by my parents in the sense, oh, you're going to completely not have production or something like that. Yes, it was tough. But then when I saw biodiversity and environmental toxicity going down, and now I have earthworms even in a small piece. If I just open up the soil, I find earthworms, which is a nature's wonder. So it's farming is a way of life. It's like, it's not a, it's an experience. It's an experience. I think I'm proud that I got into farming, and I'm proud to be a farmer than any other profession. Even if I go to Chennai and if somebody sit down, oh, you're from Pollachi, you're a farmer. I said, yes, I'm proud to be a farmer. I mean, still that profession, it's very sad that no one gives respect. There are awards for X, Y, Z, every industry, but there is not one farmer is called upon the stage and awarded or thanked for. And even till now, I tell my granddaughter, who is about 9, I said, suppose you sit down and eat, first thank the farmer who gave you food, wherever he's from. So that's my journey about it. There's a lot to talk, because sometimes I become emotional as a farmer. But I wish and pray that, farming takes off and more youngsters come into it. Well, on the growing front, I think people should start with just growing greens first, which is the easiest, which is in our custom, or like most of the Indian cuisines, we have greens every day. So I think even in a small coconut shell, you can grow your own coriander first, mint, all the kinds of first greens, which takes just 30 days to come, which is very encouraging because they sprout very well. And I think people should start making their own composting first to make their own garden. So you have your bokashi bran and you have your own, it's a very easy system. So you don't need to, because otherwise you have to, again, soil, it's all in a small container. So the nourishment has to be given every 20 days to make the soil more nourishing, either by Panchakavya or by, so make your own compost is the first step to making your own garden at home, or vegetable garden. So every single composting method can be easily done at home. Well, I was selected by the Times of India thing when I gave the method of, you do not have a compost yard. I mean, dumping yard in Chennai or anywhere else. If you're going to segregate your own waste and not give it outside, instead make it in your own house, in your small balcony, I think that's the first step towards making your kitchen garden. And start with greens. And so you can start growing. It's very encouraging, and it's nothing like having your own food from what you grow. And start implementing that with children from starting age of 5. Make them sow it. Make them. For me, it starts from the child. It has to start. That's it. But then lots to talk, Merlin. Plenty to talk.
We'll do one session, I think, on,
farming. All of
you
come, please. Please
we'll
come
just do
home.
one thing on, making your compost. So we'll do that separately. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. So Vaishnavi, we were talking about, mindful eating and, things, how important it is. How do we choose food that is in sync with our body? We have to eat which is in sync with the body. Virginie also said, in Ayurvedic cuisine, we eat, the Ayurvedic way of eating. We eat when we are hungry, not, just based on the time. We say, okay, it's lunchtime, so we have to eat. But the reality is that, we are working, we are in a school, it's 12:30 and then we have to eat before 1. So how do we, in that case, at least how do we eat food that is in sync with our body?
Okay, so I don't know about Ayurvedic, but in simple terms, like I said, when you eat food, observe how you feel about it after some time, how your system is after some time. Because like one of them mentioned, food is energy also. You know, it is an energy that has to be respected. And there is a way of taking it inside, and your system is very sensitive. Just be cautious, just focus on that, just be mindful of. And when I said the reason I even stressed upon emotional hunger is usually I think about 70% of the time it is emotional hunger, which also means it's fine to enjoy moments with, but just be careful of what you take. What suits one person will not suit the other person, right? And I'm not going into the medical aspect or the energy aspect, even in simple terms. You know, for me, personally, for me, non-veg is a big no, because I really can't have it. And the thought that there is non-veg in my plate, sometimes to just please others, I can have it. But Merlin knows very well, I fall sick immediately. It's all in the mind, you know, it's all in your system, it's all in the mind. So nowadays, I politely have learned to say no to it. I choose the salads and I have, it is fine. It is fine. So just be cautious of what you have. And after every meal, like I think I forgot who was mentioning it, take time to chew your meals. It's very, very important. If you don't chew, there's no point in eating. We are all here to earn our bucks and make some food for ourselves. And if we can't give that time to chew our food, it's not going to work. And we've all learned it in our classes. So as it goes down, you will feel the fulfillment, you know, you will feel the nourishment, you will really feel it. You will feel happy about the meal you have. So to describe it in one word, after every meal, Merlin, if you're going to feel happy about it, if you're going to feel full about it, then you're done. If you still have a craving, finish your lunch at 12 o'clock and again by 3 o'clock you want to eat something, then there is a problem. You need to really go back and check on what you're eating. That's the right food for you. Then, you know, it's a vast topic again, you know, medical conditions and all that come in. So just pay attention to what you eat and what suits and how you feel about it after you eat. That is very important. Basically, respect food is like how you respect money. You know, we are very cautious with money. So let's also be cautious with food, because you don't just get it. There are people like Priya and all doing organic farming. It comes to the table. We don't even realize it. We don't even realize it. It just comes, we just cook and we eat. But half the time when we cook, half the nutrition is gone. I'm sure many of you will agree. We're all cooking in a hurry in the, you know, in today's times, except for the pandemic. I think that was the only time, like Nandheetha said, all of us relaxed and cooked at home. Earlier, it was always in a hurry. We don't know what goes inside, what we throw inside. It's all like a one-pot meal. So just take some time to cook. And even mindfulness is when, like Nandheetha said, when you put your emotion into cooking, it's a very beautiful thing. And I'm sure even Virginie will understand, you know, the love that goes into cooking. I think that is beautiful. I think it really shows in your system and in your health. I think nothing can beat that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Nandheetha, what do you think are some of the myths on healthy food? On, you know, do you think that there are some fine dining restaurants where they say, okay, there's proper food, and, you know, but how do you think, you know, can we make healthy food? Do you want to share something on that, you know, on myth? What do you think are the myths on healthy food?
I mean, I think a lot of people tend to have this thing about eating healthy means going on a diet, right? That's the number one, this misconception that a lot of people have. And then when they think about diets, it's like, oh, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't enjoy my meal, I can't have fun, like I can't go out with people, you know, that's the misconception that they tend to have. And then they think, oh, okay, I have to restrict myself, I have to do fasting, I have to skip meals, you know, they tend to have this thought process. And then they think, oh, if I just skip sugar and or the carbs at the end of the day, right? There's going to be starch and things in it. So I think what people need to understand is what really food boils down to, if you want to look at it from a nutritional aspect, right? They really need to have an understanding that, okay, if I eat vegetables, and even in that, for some people, it's like, oh, if I eat potatoes, I'm eating vegetables. It doesn't count. It doesn't count at all, right? So I think that's where the basis is. I feel maybe this is something that actually I could have learned in school, but I don't think we ever did, right?
Yeah.
How to approach food and vegetables and what each one contributes to the plate. And, you know, I think that's something which would be super nice. I wish it would happen. There are a lot of people, of course, trying to do, let's say, like nutritionists and all that, who are trying to point this out. I know so many in Bangalore who are trying to bust all of these myths and telling people that you can eat rice if you want to. You can eat how much ever vegetables you want to, you can enjoy your food, you can enjoy your meal, right? There's no restrictions. So I think that is something to keep in mind. A lot of people think, oh, if I cut sweets, or if I eat sugar-free desserts and things like that, that's the biggest like joke of all things. If you find something which is sugar-free dessert, so basically what they do is they substitute the entire portion of regular sugar with the sugar-free, like that powder thing. That's so much worse, right? That's just killing your system. So I think this thought process that they need to understand, like about the ingredient, where it's coming from, and how to use it, and that's something that I wish people would know. Coming to fine dining restaurants again, like I feel like a lot of people have this thought process that, oh, it's very snooty, it's very unattainable. We won't like the food there, or they'll make me do courses, they'll give me salad, they'll give me soup. But actually, those are the things which you need in your diet. You need that fiber, from different sources and things like that. So I think that's again a misconception which I wish people would figure out. And also to also point out that the fine dining in India is not even actual fine dining. It's just upscale casual dining. It's just upscale casual dining, right? Where they are trying to make it accessible. They try to give you like different options. Some of the familiar things which we all see, we might eat it at home also, and then some unfamiliar things. They just want to make people try to explore, different kinds of food. A lot of people have this misconception also that, oh, I have to try new cuisine and I'm not ready. A lot of restaurants now, like we were even talking about farm to table restaurants and things like that, right? A lot of people are doing this now, and they're just trying to focus on the indigenous ingredient, but they're just trying to put like a European technique on it or an American technique on it, which I think is fine. That's okay. But everyone just tends to think, oh, you're just trying to be fancy. It doesn't mean anything. You're just trying to say all these very big terms, and they're trying to sort of put a price tag on it. But I think that at the end of the day, again, it's all about the ingredient, understanding the ingredient, and just being open to trying new food, and not about new cuisine. It's just new food, created, innovated, maybe different flavors thrown together. And now also for chefs, when they create plates, when you go to a fine dine, again, you'll get I don't know, so many different things. Like, I'll give you guys an example of a plate that I made a couple of weeks back. It was basically, it's a date cake. It has a saffron like yogurt inside, and then it has a chili tamarind jam, and then I made like like poriyurunde. That's what we call it in Tamil, right? It's the puffed rice which is coated in like a caramel, and I put it on top. This doesn't exist anywhere. None of these things exist together on the same plate anywhere. But like, it's all the stuff that that I kind of like and I put together. So for me, it's a story also, because like I always used to buy poriyurunde from the supermarket. Like, I never bought chocolate, since you guys know that I don't like chocolate. So for me, that's what I'm putting on the plate. I'm putting my memories on the plate, right? And stuff that I like, and hopefully people also will try to enjoy and do together. And I think that's what a lot of people need to start understanding about chefs. We're actually trying to put our soul into the food that we create, right? Everything is well thought out. Everything is we're trying to balance it out in terms of like hot and cold, from a nutritional aspect and so on. And I wish, again, that was something that people would start to realize, and hence also come out and try more restaurants, more food, and so on. There are so many restaurants in India which are doing this. Like, very prominently, there's the Bombay Canteen in Bombay, right? They do a lot of work on the same thing. There is an upcoming restaurant which somebody just called me about today to ask about some ideas. There's even places like Toast and Tonic in Bangalore, Permit Room, which they're all trying to take Indian food or Indian ingredients and trying to put a different spin on it. And I think those are the kind of places which are really taking it forward, and hopefully they proliferate and they're all over, and I hope they open in Coimbatore.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. On a much serious note, Pauline, can you just talk about these GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and and what are some people say it increases the nutritional value, and whereas I have always felt that a genetically modified plant is not good personally, because it is man-made. So that's my version. But otherwise, what are the myths around that on GMOs?
Okay. So yes, like you said, genetically modified organism. So it is not natural. So even I strongly believe that if it is not natural, it is not good. It is not going to be sustainable. In the long run, it is definitely not going to help. And the thing about these biotechnological companies or GMO producing companies, the thing is they deliver whatever they promise. Okay. So if we are very, if you're looking only like this, we will be convinced that whatever they are selling is really good. So for instance, a very common vegetable, the potato. So we know, it has a lot of starch. So it's like a carbohydrate pool. So for example, they say we will produce a potato that will give you carbs plus proteins. Okay. So I mean, this is just an example. Okay. So there's going to be like 50% carbohydrate and 50% protein. So that way they say they're including protein. So they will put the light only on that. But the fact is we are losing out on so much of carbohydrate. So nature as such, I mean, the thing is, because, I think, our body always communicates to us in different signs, like, Vaishnavi and everybody was saying earlier, we just need to pause every now and then to see what it's saying to us. What do we really need? Because the noise around us, it's so loud sometimes, we think that's what we need. For example, we can just eat pulses as such, in our normal cooking method. But then there's somebody saying that you won't have time for that. So you switch to this cereal. You can switch to this cereal treat. So it's definitely not the same. So at different points, I think, each person, because it's a conscious choice. I mean, it's just a conscious choice. If we want to sit down with our family for a properly, a decent 3-course meal or something like that, it is a conscious choice. If I want to do it, I can still do it. But then if it is a conscious choice to skip it, to go for a serial treat or something. I mean, if I may, I just remembered this thing. I don't know if you guys have watched the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, so in that movie, this guy Charlie, he's a chocolatier. So he'll say that he's working on this chewing gum. That is an alternate for a 3-course meal. If I remember correctly, it's a tomato soup and a steak, I believe, and a blueberry pie. So there'll be this one girl who she'll just take the chewing gum and she'll start chewing on it. And like I said, whatever they promise, they will give it. Likewise, when she starts chewing it, first she'll taste the tomato soup, and then she'll go on to the steak, I believe. And then when she's having the blueberry pie, she herself become like a blueberry pie. She'll get all fluffy and things like that. That's exactly what happens when these biotechnology folks come inside. I know I studied that too, so that's why I know it in detail. And I am not for it at all. So just like what happened to that girl, that's exactly what will happen to us. So we think, okay, so instead of the 3-course meal, this is easy to cook. I just have to take and chew on it. But that's what happens. And the worst part is, that's one kind of a danger that we have. And one more thing is, like the poultry and the cattle that, that is also on our plate. So the alteration in the genetic thing happens in the feed that they give the chicken. So if a chicken normally takes like 100 days or 150 days to have a natural growth and can grow up to, let's say, 2 kgs or something. I'm not sure. I'm just giving you a random number. But then when these guys, they tell the person who takes care of these chicken that, if you use this in your cattle feed or your poultry feed, it's going to, your chicken is going to grow within 50 days. It's going to grow up to 4 or 5 kgs. So naturally, this guy is going to be like, okay, great, because whatever he's promising it's going to happen. But it's definitely unhealthy weight gain. It's going to be hormones and steroids, and all this. I mean, and recent cases. If I mean, I'm sure all of you know that all these things cause early, female children hitting puberty really early, and then it's going to cause early menopause and so many other issues. And if you think about it, all of this chaos because one person, he just can't let the chicken do that. So he wants to interfere in that. He wants to interfere in that pattern, and you see what all it's causing. And the worst part is, majority of the people end up eating this chicken. The guy who's producing the biotechnologically altered feed will give the person give his children the organic chicken, the expensive one. That's the one that naturally is grown, taken care of, and things like that. But the majority of the people will end up eating this. So, that's what is happening around. So I think, we should, as for the myths, I don't know what exactly is the myth here because, because whatever they promise, they give it. So it is our choice, basically. So, I mean, if everybody just pauses for 1 second to see what what is on our plate, what is going inside our mouth, how, like Vaishnavi said, how our body is reacting to it. Because we don't even have time to chew on the food, then how will we pause to see how the reaction to the food is? So I think, we should take a big, because, that's giving us the life. Like there are so many people without food also. At least we have the food. We should be grateful to that. And also we should make sure whatever is going inside, as much as, we should be conscious of what we're eating. I think we should also be very conscious if we are taking the food from somebody else's plate. Like, are we, from a farmer's plate or something like that? Because we should be mindful, and whatever choices that I'm making, it shouldn't affect anyone else also. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you did. Thank you. You gave a lot of insights, and I love the story about the chicken not being able to eat what it's meant to eat. That's very true. You're not allowing the poor chicken to eat what he's meant to eat. That's a very true statement. Virginie, we'll kind of wrap up now. Virginie, what are the, we were talking about a lot of food that's healthy, unhealthy, and in French cuisine there's so much of meat and poultry. What do you think, how do we make healthy choices? Like, how do we make healthy choices accessible? Were you able to source good products, and were they accessible? What was your experience, as an outsider? We are all here and it's easy, for us, but as an outsider who's starting up a business where you have to, the price and the financial balance is very important for you. How were you able to manage to give the quality of a healthy producer while managing, the accessibility and the pricing, front of it?
I found a shop not too far where I am, which they provide good quality meat who comes from the village to a reasonable price. So I'm very lucky in that matter.
Good.
So it's not organic, but at least it's from here and from the village. So we know where it's from, it's fresh. So you just call when you need, and he said, yes, this has arrived. Then I can go and get it. Or I make an order for what I did, and when it's there, I can go and pick it up.
Super. So you have that. Okay. So
healthy, yes. Healthy food, yeah. French is not as healthy as Ayurveda is, but you can eat, if you like your meat, you can grill it instead of make a sauce out of it.
Yeah, something like that. Okay. Thank you. So we are going to just, do a final round of question. You can either choose to talk about the challenges that's there in your field, or if there is one takeaway that you want our audience to take from this conversation and from your perspective and from your experience, if there's just one point that you think, whatever they've listened to for so long, if there's one thing that they have to take back and, as your piece of wisdom, what would you give? Can we have Ameeta?
My takeaway is that there's been so much knowledge shared here, and at some level, all of us know these things. It just takes people like the panelists to show us the mirror and tell us that, look, this is an option. This is where you could be going wrong, or this is where you could adjust into a better lifestyle for yourself and your family. So I find that is really enlightening, and I was really taken in by each and every one of the panelists. And Merlin, you were great as a moderator.
Thank you.
And every one of you was so good. Thank you so much for sharing such frank insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Virginie, is there anything, one advice or, one takeaway for our audience? What is that you want to share?
I want to share about food, because you are what you eat. This is very important, to listen to your body, to see what it tells you. Like when everybody says when we eat, see if you're comfortable with it. If you're not, then you have to change your diet. Eat if you can, if you're only hungry. And you know, I started in October last year. So we are eating fruits and some nuts in the morning around 10 o'clock. Then we have one big meal a day, which is around 3 o'clock. That's it. Doing that, we were full with my husband. We lost 8 kilos without wanting it, without doing a diet, just because we ate only what we needed. And we ate what we wanted, vegetables and carbs and things, everything we wanted, but in a good quantity that our stomach needed. And we felt so much better. And my digestion, tummy is so happy.
Thank you. Thank you. Priya, what would you want to say? As a one takeaway for our audience.
Yes. First, thank you, Merlin, for this opportunity for all of us. It was a great sharing of knowledge. Now, my only takeaway is, I think even now and forever will be like, I think instill the habits of nourishment and everything in children first, and eat local, buy local, and support your local farmers, because I think they are the backbone. Without farming, you might be anybody. I think first you have to respect them and then instill that in kids. That's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Priya. Vaishnavi?
And then I have a couple of things. I'm not going to stop with one. First thing, I think be informed, stay informed. When it comes to food, it's very important. Second thing, don't give in to emotional binging. It is not advisable. It is not healthy. It is not good for you. Not for the short term, not for the long term. And the next thing, begin by giving considerate amount of time to eating. Don't try to multitask when you eat. Eating itself is a pleasurable experience. So give it that time. Set aside the other activities, focus on eating, chew well, finish your meal and then go back. Don't try to multitask. So this would be what I would tell anybody. Merlin, thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi.
This is the start to some wonderful panel discussions in the future. And I'm looking forward always with you and with the others as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi. Thank you. Thank you. Nandheetha, what are your final words of advice?
I mean, first off, again, thank you for putting us all together in a call. Like, it's so great to meet people from such different areas of expertise. And I think that's the one takeaway also, that just because it's food, I think we somehow tend to think there's only one or two professions or one or two jobs that you can have out of it, but there's so many different things that all of us have, connected with food in different ways. And I think that's definitely something. And whatever it is that, the students decide to do at the end, like, just put in the time, put in the effort, put in the, the hard work, and eventually the results are going to come in. And of course, find joy in all the small things, enjoy everything, enjoy the ingredients, enjoy the cooking process, enjoy the eating, and hopefully, you're going to be happy at the end of the day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pauline?
Okay, so one thing that I would take away from this meeting is that there is no shortcut, or there's no easy way to a healthy living. And also to be very aware of the choices that we're making each and every day in terms of our food, and also being attentive to our body, to listen to what it wants, to listen to the way it's reacting, and everything like that. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.
All of you, welcome, Farm in Pollachi. It's a very heartfelt, it's not for formality's sake or just because I have to call. Merlin, I think you should be not really a coordinator in this. You should make it a point to invite all of us, all of you all to the farm. That's your responsibility. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do that. Thank you. Thank you so much for your invitation. Thank you. Thank you. And for JC Life Skill Academy, I think it's important. One key takeaway that, is what most of you said, we'll have to be informed of what we have to eat, what's happening around. And that's why it's a pleasure. And I think it's an honor, and we are blessed to have all of you here, giving us the guidance and saying, this is to be done, that's to be done. And I think one next step that we will immediately do is definitely, talk about farming, talk about, vegetables, talk about things in our upcoming programs, because with Vaishnevy, we're building a life skill training program for school children. So we will definitely incorporate that because, we have developed this life skill training to bridge the gap between what is not taught in schools. So we are building a program. So we will definitely get inputs from all of you on that front. And we will, I think, what right from when a child is there, to be aware of what's eating and what's happening around and all the food fads. I think that's really awesome. So thank you, all of you. Thank you so much, Ameeta. Thank you for being here, Nandheetha, Virginie, Priya, and Vaishnavi, and Pauline.